Wheezy is one of the top producers in the game. His bouncy drums and dark melodies makes every rapper addicted to his beats. So today we're going to take a deep dive into all the production techniques that Wheezy loves to use, like the crazy 808 rolls and much more. So let's make an insane beat. One key thing that helps Wheezy to lock in a fire bounce is the BPM. In fact, he goes for a slower vibe at around 120 BPM, and here it's easy to create bounce. But the bounce is also created by the melody. In fact, Wheezy used a lot of samples by Juke Wong, and we can clearly hear he loves to create orchestral vibes. We need to make a fire sample like that. And we can start with strings, since they are really important in these orchestral samples. Let's select a scale, let's go in G minor, so then we will pitch down the sample and it's going to sound fire. Let's just create a chord and play with these two notes that are close together, because they're going to create a lot of tension. As you can see, also the length of the notes is really important. If we had something like that, sounds completely different. Try to use this note. And let's create a scale going down at the end. And I wanted to add some effects on this, but honestly with real instruments we don't have to do too much. Let's add a stereo shaper, just to make the strings wider. But we will hear the difference later. Okay, I really like this first melody we made. And now we could go on and add a lot of orchestral sounds, or we could try to find a sound that makes this beat unforgettable. Because I think Wheezy loves to use samples that have something unique and different, you know? Like the last chop in Ace Gang.
Pro, yeah, pro.
This makes it sound so hard. Or listen to the staccato and stuff. As you can hear, these elements are adding a lot of character to the beat. And honestly, finding interesting sounds and stuff like this, it's pretty hard. But yeah, I will search for ethnic stuff, you will find something similar. Okay. Let's have it only like an accent, and let's add some reverb. Remember these two presets from the Dominion Bank? Yeah, it's perfect for this. And let's just copy the main melody. Yeah, I love the texture that he's creating. I want to add one last accent to this, and I'm going to go in riffle, where I have some phrases like that. And they sound fire. If you want to go crazy, I suggest to check out riffle. It has a lot of these type of sounds, and since it's multi-keys, your melodies are going to feel alive. So if you want to check it out, the link is in the description, and use the code LIGHT for a 20% off. They create a chord response between the first accent we have and this violin. Okay, I really like this. And you see, by just adding some accents, this sounds much fuller and more interesting than what we had before. And we just made a really simple melody, and like these accents were only one note, so simplicity is key also here. This still doesn't sound like a sample, so let's listen to 99 for that. It sounds like a finished sample. And to obtain this result, we can just add some other orchestral elements. And we can think like we're building a real orchestra. We have all of these violins playing in the higher end, so we can add a bass, for example. You see, this makes a lot of difference. With the bass we should follow the chords, but we can also force a progression. I'm doing that mainly for the intro, because then we are going to avoid changing chords in the final beat. Yeah, this is starting to sound crazy. And you know, you gotta let yourself getting carried by the inspiration. And let's add some horns. Can play large intervals, so I'm trying to play in more octaves. Whoa! Yeah, I like that. And one thing I learned from Jukwang is to layer two different sounds that have a similar tone. So we use the horns, let's go for a trumpet, an octave higher. Okay, that's fire, man. But now it's time to arrange these real quick. So then when we resample it, we are going to have different sections already that we can use for the beat. So we want a simple part like that. Then a part with all the accents. And then a part with everything. Okay, now it's fire and it's ready to be resampled. There are different ways to resample. From the Jukwang video I understood that Wheezy just looped the first 4 bars, but the progression wasn't changing, so like in our case. And in Ace Gang I think he sped it up and chopped it.
Pro, yeah, pro.
And we can do something similar in our beat too. Let's render one part like that, and I'm doing that one at a time because then it's gonna be easier to find different parts. I'm going to show you later. We can try to pitch it down, so we were in G, we can go to D sharp. But I really like this first beat. And at the end I create some variation. We want to try to find another chop, but as I said before, here we're changing progression, so we can't use it for a hard beat. So let's actually remove the bass notes. We can always add them in later. And we can just drag the new sample here in the old one, and it will replace it. Woo! This second variation is fire! Okay, we have 2 variations, and let's render them so we have it. Okay, that's the verse. And that's the second part of the verse. Even simpler, but it's fire. Let's have also the main sample as the intro. That's fire, man. Now, before adding the drums, another thing Wheezy does when he chops a sample is to add some synth textures. And I don't know why, but they sound so good with orchestral samples. Yeah, what is this? And now it's finally time for the drums. That is when Wheezy really goes crazy. And for now, let's listen to the main clap or snare.
Ready, ready.
Here, use the classic trap clap with a simple pattern too. So yeah, let's keep it simple like that. Maybe add one note at the end. Okay, now it's time for the hi-hat. That's where Wheezy adds a lot of bounce to his beats, and sometimes even using multiple hi-hats patterns.
15 carat wedding ring, ain't even married.
So the first one is a bit more bouncy and the second one has more notes.
Bricks and bread, came from the blocks of the crumbs.
To create these really bouncy hi-hats patterns, I suggest to fit each 4 steps and try to add notes and see where it sounds good. And remember to keep these pauses, they are really important. Here we can add a roll. Yeah, and before the clap, the rolls always sound good. And I just copied it, and on the second part we can create some variations. So here, for example, make a faster roll. Yeah, that's fire. And let's randomize a bit the pen, the velocity, and a bit the pitch too, like 1%. Yeah, that's so bouncy. And now we can add the open hat. Wheezy usually places it in the poses he left in the hi-hats.
I'm getting certain amount of cash, look like I said something. Hurt my...
We left a pause here. Yeah, that's fire. And it's really repetitive too, usually. Okay, this is starting to have a lot of bounce, but another element that they use again for this purpose is the counter snare. He added bounce to the clap, so in spots like this. And he used rolls like that, so using 1/3 step, but skipping one note. Yeah, that's fire. And we can finally go crazy with the 808. So let's use a hard spins, and a pattern I see him using a lot is this one. So at the end we can use the classic trick of going down in the scale. Now it's really simple. At the end we can use 1/3 beat, so do something like this. And use 1/3 step to create mini rolls like that. Yeah, that's fire. But now the 808 roll we added doesn't play together with the snare, and Wheezy does that a lot. So on the first part of the hook, we're going to remove that crazy roll. And here on the second part, make unique the counter snare, and we can copy the roll we made with the 808, and we can go a bit crazier, so fill in more spaces.